Hey everybody. Hey, sorry everyone. I paused it because I wanted to check my Instagram connection. So, setting up here, and Crystal is going to join us. I'm just getting my stand ready, and hopefully it doesn't fall like it did last time. All right, there you are. Hi, Crystal.
Huh?
All right, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
All right, perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead. I'm just turning up my volume because my volume, sorry, sounds like it's a little low. All right, there we go. And then I'm gonna prop this camera back up so I can be hands-free. All right. So good evening, everyone. I just want to welcome you to another Fasting Work Girl Chat. Tonight we have Reduced Fat Keto Mama, or not keto, why am I putting keto in front of it? Reduced Fat Mama with us, Crystal, and she's joining us tonight to just talk with us about her journey. So I'm going to read a brief introduction about her, but what I want to remind everyone, if this is your first time tuning in or sixth time tuning in, have to give my medical disclaimer. So even though I'm a physician, I'm not your doctor. And so nothing that we discuss tonight should be construed as personalized medical advice. Whenever you're going to start a lifestyle change, you need to talk with your provider so they can assess your personal situation. So now that we have that out of the way, I'd like to introduce Crystal. So Crystal joins us. She is a 35-year-old wife, stepmom, and mommy. She spent most of her life being overweight or obese, and it wasn't until her 2.5-year-old son was born and actually, unfortunately, had a stroke, that life was kind of turned upside down for her. She dealt with his medical condition the best way that she knew how, and that was through eating. She was an emotional eater and an overeater. And in January 1st, 2018, she stepped on the scale and actually saw that she was her highest adult weight. She knew that if she didn't do something to change her life, that she would potentially die. She was tired, she was exhausted, and she hurt all the time. So starting that next day, she decided that she was going to change her life, change her eating habits, and the rest is history. In, in 14 months, Crystal has lost 109 pounds, and she finally feels like that she has her life back. That's incredible. And she did this all on her own. She hasn't weighed her current weight since high school. So this is the lowest weight of her adult life. And she's actually training for a 10K in May. And now when she's either sad or upset or stressed, rather than eating, she turns to working out. So that's just incredible. Crystal, thank you so much for joining us tonight. So happy to speak with you.
Thank you.
So we can just jump right into it. I have a few questions for us, but I think for everyone listening, why don't you just tell us more about yourself, what your highest adult weight was, what your current weight was, and kind of what your process for change has been.
Sure. So my highest weight was 291 last January, 2018. And then as of today, I'm 102.1.
Nice.
It's so crazy thinking that I could actually be that weight. Crazy. And I've lost all of this weight by healthier eating and exercise. And that's pretty much it. I have a love for the gym now. November 26, 2018, I ran a half a mile for the first time in my entire life.
Nice.
Probably even elementary, middle school, I have never ran a mile or anything, and I've just started running. Last week I ran a 5K at the gym on a treadmill, and I mean, it's never too late. I'll be 35 July, and here I am, like, learning to run. It's absolutely insane. I'm doing things that I never thought possible ever. So
no, I think that's amazing. And I mean, you hit it right on the nail on the head. Like, it's never too late. It's never too late to improve your weight. It's never too late to improve your health, to change your eating habits. We know nutrition is so important in terms of our response to body weight, and just being able to incorporate those changes you've had, and now that you're able to move more and doing things that you never thought was possible. I mean, that's so inspiring, because I think a lot of people just look at, oh my gosh, I have 50 pounds to lose, or I have 100 pounds to lose, I have 200 pounds to lose, whatever it is. But you just got to start taking it one day at a time. And that's exactly what you did. How did you kind of get started initially? Like, what type of, I guess, dietary changes, or you mentioned that you were an emotional eater. So kind of how did you start to overcome some of that?
So last January, I started using my FitnessPal again. I started eating, I think at that time I was eating like maybe 1,700 calories a day. I started going to the mall and walking. I walked outside when it was nice. I ordered an elliptical. I was using my elliptical at home. I have found that I get such of a release of stress and sadness and depression and all of that by working out. So once I started, having those workouts that were like, like there goes all my stress and my pain and my sadness. That's when the emotional eating, I think, just kind of left. If I have a bad day, my first thought is, gosh, I want to go to the gym and I want to work out. I want to do something. I don't want to run to the gas station at 2 a.m. like I used to do to get a 20 ounce of Coke and a bag of cheese puffs and 2 large cosmic brownies. I mean, that was the thing. And now, I mean, I don't know. It's just crazy because I've always been an emotional eater my entire life. And the fact that it just like kind of went away, it's just crazy. Absolutely crazy to me.
No, and I think too, with your story, a lot of people can relate. So a lot of people don't talk about it. I think, and I'm not sure why, because it's probably more common than what people realize, but it's the either emotional eating or the binge eating. There's binge eating disorder, there's night syndrome eating, there's night eating disorder, all of these different things. And what a lot of people will try to do is something called stimulus control, where we actually try to, instead of that thought where, okay, I'm stressed out, I want to eat, you replace that with a different stimuli. And so for you, you were able to do that naturally with working out, which is great, because obviously there's plenty of benefits of physical exercise that go beyond weight loss, like it just countless benefits. And then obviously that emotional eating or binge eating if it continued, would be counterproductive to weight loss, right? Because we know the majority of weight loss has to do with our nutrition. So, for other people, they may not find that working out relieves their urge to eat, but I think it's important that people experiment with different things. So if you find something that works, stick with it. That could be journaling. It could be mindfulness. It could be meditation. There are a lot of different things that can help relieve that kind of stress eating. And so just in terms of how you were able to replace kind of that urge to eat with working out. What other methods did you use to incorporate weight loss? I know you talked a little bit about MyFitnessPal. What does your process kind of look like with using MyFitnessPal to figure out kind of what you should target or not target?
So I love how my FitnessPal is, and now I eat a lot of the same things all the time, just because it's sometimes easier. When you have a 2.5-year-old, I'm not going to be making like extravagant meals. It's just something easy. So
Correct.
easy to log the food. A bunch of restaurants that you go to, they're on MyFitnessPal. I also have an Apple Watch, which I actually bought when my son was 6 months old. So I wasn't using it for fitness, obviously, before. But it's nice because I want to like close all of my rings. I have a move goal, so you're getting up and moving at least once, for 12 hours a day. There's an exercise for 30 minutes on there. So I take usually 1 to 2 rest days a week now. And then I'm working out at the gym like 4 or 5 days. So that really helps moving. I'm having a 2.5-year-old that stop.
Yeah, that's true.
That keeps me moving as well. There's a fitness program through my job where if you hit like 7,000 to 10,000 steps, you get so many points. If you log your food, you get so many points, and then you can earn up to $500 a quarter from that.
Oh.
So that is an incentive as well to me.
That's nice. I wish
yeah.
more employers offered things like that. I have a friend who mentioned to me that her employer offers something like that. And I think just incorporating more of that, positive reinforcement for moving, would be nice. In terms of so sounds like, now that you kind of, because you've been logging, you kind of know which foods are what and the calories and things like that. Do you incorporate like a mix of vegetables? Are you like vegetables but also low carb? Like, not to label you, but I know a lot of people are always curious, like, well, what kind of, I don't know, mantra do you follow?
And it's funny because I don't really follow anything.
Nice.
So I Google like what's considered low carb, and I think like 100 to 150 maybe carbs or grams of carbs a day is considered low carb.
Yep.
So I would probably say that I'm a calorie count lower carb.
Okay.
I get carbs obviously from vegetables and like but I do eat regular bread. Just nothing like I used to eat probably a loaf of bread in like 3 or 4 days before. A week I'll have peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It's just, I've always been one that has, how do they say, like a beat to my own drum. Like I've never followed, when it comes to running, I have the 5K, Couch to 5K app, but I don't know, like maybe it's like adrenaline or something, but I like to follow the rules, but when it comes to things like that, I just go out and I run until I feel like I, can't run anymore.
Right.
I yoga, but yoga is like way too slow paced for me. Like I like, at the gym, I like to turn on loud music, just let go, 'cause there's only been twice in the past year that I can say that I was in a bad mood, worked out, and then was still in a bad mood. I feel 10 times better. So, I don't, it's so crazy to me, like this whole thing, going through like everything that my son and I have been through, but like just tonight, my son was eating, and so his stroke took out 65 to 75% of the right side of his brain. It's completely dead. So the left side of his body, and we do a lot of not necessarily constraint therapy, but a lot of times I'll hold his right arm down, so he's forced to use his left hand. Like I'm helping him use his left hand to eat applesauce, and he's just, like gives me this big smile, and I'm like, look at him, and I'm like, okay, weight loss can be hard, but what's harder? My favorite quote has always been, being overweight is hard, weight is hard, choose your heart. It was so much harder when I was morbidly obese. I mean, when I was almost 300 pounds, and I'm only 50, so that was, I was a big girl. That was so much harder. And my son has been in physical therapy since he was 4 weeks old, and he's almost 3. He's been in occupational therapy he was 6 months old, and now he's been in speech since he was 2. If he can do all of these things, and it's hard for him to use that left hand, his hand, and if he can fight so hard, then why can't I fight? Like, he is seriously, I mean, he's my motivation. Like, struggles too. I mean, struggles just to use a fork. Like, most kids, and nothing against, other, neurotypical kids, but that's just nothing. Using 2 hands, that's nothing. And to fight to do that. And if he can do that, I mean, his mom can go outside and hit the pavement and run.
Right.
And I'm 35 years old. I mean, when I signed up for that 10K, I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing? You've never even ran, You've hardly ran, but I know I'm going to be able to do it. Last week when I ran 3.11 miles, so a 5K at the gym.
Wow.
The entire time I'm thinking of a friend of mine on here, my friend Bo. He's wheelchair bound. If you think of people this is another big motivator. If you think of people that would love to even be able to walk, they would love to be able to run. They would love to be able to do the things that I physically can do. Like, I mean, there's so many kids that can't walk, and there's so many adults that can't walk, and it's like, I have the body to do it. I have to do it. So that's how I can run. Like, I think of all of these things, and then I was thinking of being back in NICU when my son got his stroke diagnosis and how horrible that felt. And I mean, this pain that that I feel sometimes if going to the gym, like, man, that's really hard. None of it compares to how hard it was dealing with my son, like, after his stroke. And I think it's just I went through hell after he was born with his stroke diagnosis and his epilepsy and everything. And compared is like, I mean, it's nothing. It's really not much compared to the hell that I went through, not being able to. I can remember walking around the mall, just walking around, my back ached all the time, and now I'm like, it doesn't ache. It was hard being morbidly obese. It was hard. My BMI was 50.6, I believe. Really hard. And now, I mean, it was hard in the beginning, but now, into it, and it's my life. It's not just a diet that I'm just going to do for a couple months. I mean, this is
lifestyle. Yeah. And I think, I mean, you just said so many key things there, but one of the ones that I like that you said is, if you think losing weight is hard, well, what's the alternative? Yeah. And so the different chronic health conditions that come with that, you having chronic back pain, I'm sure that was excruciating, having issues with your back, not being able to potentially, the thought of keeping up with your children later on, and all the other different things, that's hard to also live a life like that indefinitely. And so while it may be hard in the beginning, once you get started, and once you find your routine, you find that it's doable with baby steps. Small steps over time equal huge change. The other thing that I like that you highlighted is that, when we talked about what your nutrition was like, so, we'll hear a lot of people say that you don't need to count calories, or, oh my goodness, you're doing low carb, but you still have 100 grams of carbs a day. Are you really low carb? And what I think, and what I'm finding out more just as I kind of peruse the different social media lifestyle camps, if you will, you have your plant-based, you have your hardcore keto, you have your low carb, you have your, if it fits your macros, you have veganism. I mean, there's so many different ways. There's carnivore. There's so many different ways of eating. But I think what we all need to do is not necessarily tell someone how they should or shouldn't be eating with relationship to, if you're doing keto, oh my gosh, why are you doing that? Or if you're doing plant-based, oh my gosh, why are you doing that? It's the common thing all of these diets have, and not diets, lifestyles have in common, is that they're eating whole, real foods. They're getting rid of the processed stuff. I think you mentioned earlier when you first started your journey, you cut out sugar, for 6 weeks. You still had carbs, but you cut out that processed stuff. You cut out the donuts or whatever your comfort food that you may have been having in excess.
Actually, sugar gave me anxiety. Like, I didn't realize that I was way more anxious then, and it was because I was eating so much.
Yeah, well, and there's definitely some research studies, and especially people who are more in a low carb keto camp definitely point out the relationship to processed carbohydrates, high sugar loads, higher than what we were physiologically intended to process, and the association with some other different things such as anxiety. So that's probably not, something shocking. The other thing is, there's a difference between sugar. Like you said, you eat carbs, you eat vegetables. There's another misconception. Just because you're lower carb doesn't mean you're anti-vegetables. Like, people do low carb and have vegetables, right? Because we know that your body does not respond to the half gallon of ice cream the same way as it does to kale, right? I mean, it just doesn't do that. And so I think motivating people and actually empowering people to research various lifestyles, ways of eating that you think you'll be able to do for a lifetime, because ultimately the lifestyle that you can do for life, that's why it's called a lifestyle, is going to be the one that wins, right? And so I think just you explaining your process and different things, and how you've just kind of shaped it for yourself. You did your own research. You didn't subscribe to it. You have to do this or you won't lose weight. You did trial and error, but you did cut down on that sugar. And I think that processed food, when I look at various diets across different ethnic groups, different regions, things like that, the healthiest people tend to be the ones who are eating the fewest processed foods.
Right.
So, sorry, that's a bit of a tangent, but I like to stress that to people. What kind of advice do you have for anyone starting off, who may have a significant amount of weight to lose and think either, it's too late for them, or they just can't do it because it's just too big of a mountain to climb?
I mean, I can remember last February was really hard. I just got real overwhelmed. I realized, how much weight I had to lose. Oh my God, you need to lose at least like 120, 130 pounds. And that's overwhelmed. I mean, that's like a whole person. I was so overwhelmed. And not giving up on like the hard days, I would not be where I'm at right now, if I would have gave up. I love Instagram. I love following. There's a lot of people on here. There's a guy that was 700 pounds and that is like 250.
I know who you're talking. Yeah, I follow him too.
Yes. Listening to his stories, and just when he's like, on days where I didn't want to work out, and he would just be like, telling people like, do it. And I'm like, okay, I got to do it. Looking at somebody like that and knowing that if he was like, man, you got 120 pounds to lose, girl, I wish that's all I had to lose,
Right.
He wants to lose like 500 pounds.
He wants to lose 500, yeah.
So just kind of like, and not comparing, because you shouldn't compare yourself to other people, but seeing people who have lost so much more and knowing that they struggle too, that you're not the only person that's struggling. But I also weigh my food too, and I still do. Someday I probably won't, but I still don't trust myself. Like, if I'm like, oh, that's a serving, my servings are still 3 or 4.
Okay. Uh-huh.
3 or 4 higher than, you know, serving sizes than what an actual serving is. But I mean, ultimately, you have to find what's going to work for you. I love my Fitness Pal. I love, you know, logging all my food. I can plan like my day. I can already put in, okay, this is what I'm going to have for a snack later. This is what I'm going to have for dinner. This is what I'm going to have for breakfast. You know, to play around with like calories and stuff. But I find that calorie counting really helps for me. Making sure that I'm in a calorie deficit. I make sure you eat enough because if I'm hungry
Yeah.
around days, I'm not gonna starve myself. I can usually tell, okay, are you really hungry or are you bored hungry?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes at night, late at night, I have to go to sleep because I like just want to eat, and I know
Mm-hmm.
wanting to eat because it's that nighttime eating. Um, but Instagram, I mean, really has been. There are so many amazing people here who are trying to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
On days, you know, like going to the gym for me is great. I never like want to go to the gym, but when I was working out at home, like today, I'm like, oh God, I don't want to work out, and just getting on Instagram and looking at people's stories and, you know, seeing somebody working out and that motivates.
Right.
Her and I, like, we became friends on the Apple Watch last February, and that's another thing that motivates me. Like, it say that she had just finished a workout, and I'm like, oh God, she worked out. I gotta work out, you know.
Yeah.
Like just being around like people, you know, that helps get you motivated. I wish I could bottle up this feeling, you know, with my son. I would not wish anybody's child to, you know, have a stroke and everything, and it really sucks. But um just watching, you know, a little kid like that struggle to do like things that other people it might be easy for.
Mm-hmm.
And on days where I'm like, this might be hard. No. When I ran 3 miles last week, like, you know, at 1 mile, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stop. No, at 2 miles. And I'm thinking, you know, back to when he was in the NICU. And then I'm thinking of all the other parents that have kids have had strokes. And I'm like, you know, I'm running for them. Like I'm doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, my friend Bo, who's wheelchair bound, he would love to be able to walk. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, yeah, this is hard running and this is hard. This is really hard, but I can physically do this. Like, so
Right.
I think just, I mean, yeah, it's a lot about yourself, but like thinking about others really does help.
Mm-hmm. And thinking of too, I think a lot of times we tend to focus on what we can't do, you know, or it's like, oh, okay, well, I have 100 pounds to lose and everybody else only has 20 pounds to lose, or things of that kind of mindset. And it may sound cheesy, but really thinking of the glass half full, what can you do? And then looking at the things that you can do to see how those traits you already possess can help you reach whatever your next goal is. The other thing that I like just with talking with you tonight, you know, I think a lot of times, and there's different reasons for weight loss, but I always encourage people to dig deeper than just, I want to hit a number on the scale, or I want to wear a certain dress, or I want to, you know, fit into a bikini or things like that, because I just don't, I mean, for some people, those are lasting motivators, but I would say for most people, it's not, you know? And so I think finding a deeper purpose, like you said, you wanted to make sure that you were healthy so you could take care of yourself and your family, you know? And if you're sick all of the time, how can you really care for anyone else, you know? Or are you going to be missing some of those life moments that you wanted to be involved in? And I just think, you know, finding like your true why and make it, I mean, obviously there's always, you know, a physical thing, fit a new pant size. And I'm not saying not to celebrate those are non-scale victories, but I just think that in order to keep going when you want to quit, you got to find something other than I just want to wear this dress. I think at least for most people, that would be my opinion.
I mean, there's this mall that's about 45 minutes away, and I always want to take my son on these little ridey scooter things. I couldn't because of my weight. You know, I don't want my weight to be able to hold me back.
Right.
I bought my son a trampoline for Christmas, and I think it's 225, the weight limit, and him and I can both fit on it at a time. You know, just like that. Like, I don't want to miss out on any of that stuff. You know, let's say he wants to go horseback riding when he gets bigger. I don't want to be like, Mommy can't take you because
Right.
you know? So I do want to have a normal BMI. I know a lot of people say about BMI, but with my parents, it'll be better, and I just don't want to be obese anymore. But I mean, for me, there's so many things, you know. I want to be stronger. I want to run. I want to do a 10K, maybe even someday do a half marathon, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Healthy for me, for my husband, for my son. There's so much on both sides of my family, my mom and my dad's side. On my dad's side, my grandma died from a heart attack. My uncle, when he was 30, he was probably 300, 400. His valves pulled away from his heart. On my mom's side, grandpa died in his sleep of a heart attack. There's so many issues. I want to grow up. I want to watch my son grow up. I mean, there's just so many reasons, you know, to want to lose weight. Yeah, I want to fit in a size, 12, and I want to do that stuff, but that's not like the only thing. And in the beginning, I mean, that's what it was. It was just I get down. But I'm here to tell you that it wasn't until I hit 199 that I finally see some, like, in my brain let me, like, up until I was under 200, I always saw myself as, like, still 290, like, even when I was like 201, like, so just because the scale says something doesn't mean your brain, like,
right.
I here today, and I can tell you that I feel like I look 225, 250 sometimes, and I'm 182. Like, just because the scale says one thing doesn't mean your brain's gonna, see the thing. So have to change, what's up here too. This is the first year that I haven't been, oh, my New Year's resolution is to lose weight, because it's not to lose weight. I want to be, obviously, I want to be physically stronger. I want to be mentally stronger. It's all like, and it's all mindset, building habits. I hardly ever have like cheat meals. Like, in the beginning, like, I wanted cheat meals and stuff all the time. But like I said, like, if I want a cupcake, I'm going to eat a cupcake. That gets rid of that craving. So it's like, I'm not like, oh, I need, I don't restrict myself too much. If I go to I just fit it into what I'm eating for the day. And, I mean, it's worked for me. And
well, and I think you've just completely redefined your relationship with food, and so I think that's why that works, because food is no longer necessarily a reward or a comfort. It's food. So if this is what you want to eat that day, you're not eating that all of the time. You are practicing true moderation, which I think lots of people struggle with what actual moderation means. But I think just the fact that food is no longer a reward, there's this meme that goes around, and it's a little harsh, but I will say every time it pops up on my feed, I do chuckle. And it says, you're not a dog. Why are you rewarding yourself with food? And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's kind of true. I mean, it's harsh, but it's kind of true.
The first 7 months I did, up until my birthday, July 30th of last year, I can remember being like, oh, for my birthday, I want to go to Olive Garden and eat a bunch of pasta, And then, like, a few weeks before that, I'm like, why? Like, if you eat too much pasta, like, you feel sick to your stomach. You don't feel good. So it's like, and I want my relationship with food to be good. I don't want to, develop an eating disorder. I have friends who, if they eat that cupcake, they feel, they feel guilty, and then they'll restrict themselves for the rest of the day. And I'm like, you can't do that. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, that's not healthy. And I want to work on my relationship with food, because my relationship with food has been horrible my entire life. Like, I've,
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm finally like looking at it and changing it. And even the first year and a half of my son's life, even when I was eating terribly, like I
Mm-hmm.
started, well,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want him growing up being like, Mom, how come you're scarfing down that McDonald's and I'm not eating that? Well, because it's terrible, and I don't want you to eat it, but I'm gonna eat
But
it.
I'm going to eat it right. And some of it is modeling. And I think, too, it's like, especially for people who have young children, I think, especially starting your health journey is especially helpful because you're going to be modeling habits. And so a lot of times we say, well, this runs in my family and everyone has this in my family. But the common thing is the eating habits of the family. And then, yes, if you eat a certain way, if you add that genetic predisposition, your body's going to predictably react in a certain way. And so if you can start off by having healthier habits, and instilling that in your children, they're not going to think anything of it. They're not going to think it's weird. They're not going to crave sugar. They're not going to, they'll have a treat, obviously, at times, but you can model that relationship for your entire family, So we are a little over time, but I'm going to read just a few comments here. Basically, it was everyone's just saying how amazing you are. There's an app called the Life app for those who do practice intermittent fasting that you can track your fasting window on, and you can do it with friends or families. So that's personally the one I use. I really like it a lot. But their comment is mindful eating too is a fantastic practice. It truly involves enjoying your food. Yes. And also I'll add on to that, appreciating it for what food is, a nourishing building block to help feed your body to perform maximally. A healthy relationship, they also noted and wanted to say, a healthy relationship with food is a lifelong goal and we should all strive for it. Agreed. Because you can run however many miles, but if you're always going back and just in doing everything you did, that's not getting you anywhere. Michael Ganhart, that's my husband. Hi, Mike. But he wanted to say, you can do it, Crystal. And he's a runner. So when you were talking about your running goals, he's like, you got it. So we're cheering you on. Catherine Great 8 said, thank you so much for sharing and having this show tonight. She really needed this. So see, your goal to reach people, you're reaching people, and definitely giving her encouragement. Kimmy6992 said, wow, didn't know that. I think that was in response to how eating excess sugar actually gave you anxiety. And that is a finding that people do note. Our diet is powerful. So, I mean, definitely analyze what you're eating and see if you, by cutting out certain things, notice an improvement in health. Becca Cab 316 said, glad I was able to join. Another kind of motivation for me. So you are motivating her. And then Mom is losing it. She's saying your mindset is great. Just how you're approaching it all. Kudos to you. Got a lot of comments. Sports Dr. Nancy said, so just how you were talking about your whole exercise process and what you did to start slowly by walking and then building up. She said, start with the small steps, which is what you did. And anybody really, that her advice applies to everyone. Obviously she's not your doctor, but she's just saying. And then she also says, protect your knees with strengthening from core down. So I think that's just her general advice to everyone is when you're starting to run longer distances, make sure that you are getting your core strong and then also incorporating some quad exercises, what I imagine she's getting at, and things to just strengthen the supporting muscles that are around your knees to prevent injury. And Oh, and she also said that you're amazing, and thanks for inspiring those who don't believe that they can be healthier. You are living proof that we can. So,
I see
there was.
Becca Cab said, "Am a beginner and looking for motivation."
Did you see that? Okay, I've scrolled up, so maybe now I'm missing the.
Recently,
Okay.
um, you're not going to always be motivated. You're not going to always be motivated, but if you build healthy habits, if you get used to, if you say, okay, on these days, I'm going to work out, and if you keep doing it and keep doing it over and over in repetitions, I mean, that's really what's going to carry you, because you're not always going to feel like that you want to work out or you're inspired to work out. I would just say to keep, know that what you're doing is helping you, and just do it even when you don't want to. Like in the morning, my alarm is set for 5:30 and I really need to get up and go to the gym. That is so hard to get motivation when it's freezing cold outside and need to go, but I know that I need to go. So
Yeah, and I mean, I think too, also potentially setting small goals, like different milestones that you'll meet. So, I don't know personally how much weight, that she's looking to use when Becca asked the question, but, break it up even into 5-pound increments to start with. I think breaking up goals and then saying, yes, I reached that goal. And then now you meet the next one and then the next one, I think that helps frame it more than like, oh, I have to lose 50 pounds. Start off small and then incorporate something at each new phase, that you want to try when you hit that milestone.
that's what I did too. One of it was to be my driver's license weight. I was 70.
Yeah, that was one of mine too.
I was 75 pounds over what my driver's license said.
Yeah.
Weighing less than my husband. I mean, a lot of people can't, but my husband's 6'4", so weighing less than him, I'm like, yes, I can weigh less, than him.
Mm-hmm.
Like little, 10 pounds, even 5 pounds, like little goals. You have to look at it in little things. When you look at it in the big picture, like 130, 200, 300, any of that, it's going to be so overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
So overwhelming. But yeah, little goals. And no, too, like even if the scale is not going the way there are weeks where I am like, eat everything on point and I work out, like even if when I was working out 6 days a week and the scale wouldn't move. Yeah, but I'm making myself healthier. I'm lifting, so I'm probably losing inches. I'm gaining
Yep.
muscle. Trust the process. Like just trust that what you're doing, even if you're not getting the weight loss right now, just trust that what you're doing is making you healthier. And then you have to like switch up your food and switch up your workouts that you can.
Yep. And then how you also hit that on the head too. The scale doesn't always change in proportion. Sometimes you'll hit plateaus. Sometimes like you said, you're losing inches. So, definitely don't want to turn it into where you feel like you have to track every aspect, but, notice your jeans. Do your jeans feel a little looser? So the scale may not have changed that week or even in 3 weeks. But if you're like, oh, my jeans are baggy, well, then clearly, something is going on, right? Even if it's not the scale related. Other things that you can do, depending on the area you live in, if you Google InBody, INBODY. So for those who are in like the Johnson County area where I am, if you go to our recreation center called Blue Valley Recreation, they offer InBody measurements, 3 of them for $40. Other places offer similar deals, but what the InBody looks at, it not only does your weight, it tells you your percent body fat and then your muscle and things like that. So you may notice that your plateau is due to the fact that you've gained true muscle weight and that maybe you've lost 5 pounds of fat. And it can also tell you where that fat is located. So we know visceral fat, the abdominal fat, is more dangerous than, fat if it's all in the thighs or somewhere else. So look for other objective methods besides just the number on the scale, because sometimes that can be disheartening if it's not going as fast and you need to look at other changes. It could have been, at the start you could only walk, and now 2 months into it you can run a half a mile. There are lots of ways to track your process to keep going. So I think all of that is good advice. Well, Crystal, thank you so much for joining us, and I will definitely have to have you back on later on, either in the spring or summer, especially after you do your 10K. I want to hear all about it. I'm sure everyone else wants to too. You have me almost contemplating signing up for a race, but I'm not committing to that right now. But you got me thinking about it. Well,
I get to meet Gary. There's a bunch of us on Instagram that are doing this race.
Yeah. What is it a certain day, or when is this race? Where is it?
It's in Cincinnati.
Oh, and people are traveling to Cincinnati?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what's the date again?
May the 4th.
Oh, that's my birthday.
Aw.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Huh. That's interesting. I don't know if I'm gonna do it. Like I said,
there's my shape Rachel. She's in Pennsylvania. She's coming. Gary's coming from Virginia. I think somebody coming from like Illinois or again. There's like all kinds of people that are coming. So it's exciting too, because all different people are doing it. But there's some people that can't. Like Daryl, he said he'll probably walk a lot. So people don't have to, my friend Willie from Texas, him and his wife are coming. There's so many different people, and some people that are going to be like really good runners, and then they're going to walk most of it. So there's a whole group of us that are going to be doing it. So I'm really excited.
Oh, that's cool. And for people listening, what's the name of the race?
It's called the Flying Pig.
The Flying Pig, May 4th. Okay. I think my husband just replied road trip. I'm like, thanks, Mike. I'm thinking about it. There's peer pressure here now. But
I'm a runner, but I've been reading articles about running and learning all kinds of stuff, because it's crazy, because when I'm running, I'm like, oh God, I just want to be done. And then I'm like, God, I can't wait till I run again. So it's kind of like a love-hate relationship.
Well, and then, my husband says he's heard about the race. So my husband's actually a runner. I'm not yet, but he is a runner. And if you ever want to check out his Instagram, it's just all one word, Michael Ganhart, but he posts different daily running tips or stretching tips and different things like that too. So, but there's lots of, different running resources too. So, well, hey, everyone, keep May 4th on your radar. Not only is it one of the best days of the year because it's my birthday, but there's also an awesome race going on where a bunch of Instagram fellow weight loss enthusiasts are going to join. So keep that on the radar. So, all right. Well, you have a good night. It was great chatting with you.
It was great talking to you too.
Okay, have a good one. Bye, everyone. Bye. Oh, and everyone, I forgot to mention, we will not have a fasting work girl chat next Tuesday, only because my boards are that Thursday. So I just feel like I should study next Tuesday. So everyone will be back after a week break. Have a good night.
Yep, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.